There's a quiet moment that happens to many people. It often arrives late at night, when the house is finally still, or during a slow drive home, when the road stretches ahead and there's nothing demanding your attention. Nothing dramatic is going wrong. Your life may even look fine from the outside, but suddenly, a thought slips in and lingers longer than expected. I don't feel like myself anymore. It isn't sadness exactly, and it isn't anger either. It's more like a strange distance between who you are now and who you remember being. You still recognize your face in the mirror. You still respond when someone says your name. You still go through the motions of your life. But something inside feels quieter than it used to, as if the volume on your inner world was slowly turned down without you noticing when it happened. What makes this feeling even harder is that you can't point to one clear reason why. There was no single moment when everything changed, no obvious breaking point, no dramatic event that explains the shift. It arrives quietly, almost invisibly, and lingers like a gentle shadow. For many people, this feeling doesn't come all at once. It builds gradually, quietly, in the background of everyday life. You keep showing up. You keep meeting expectations. You keep doing what needs to be done. Days blur into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And somewhere along the way, without any announcement, you stop checking in with yourself. You might still laugh at the right moments. You might still be productive, capable, dependable, but internally, it can feel like you're watching yourself participate from behind a glass wall, present, but not fully part of your own life. Sometimes it shows in the smallest, quiet moments, like pausing over a cup of coffee, staring out the window at the soft morning light, and realizing you can't remember the last time something truly surprised or moved you, or scrolling through old photos on your phone, tracing your fingers over memories that feel both familiar and distant, and wondering how you got from that version of yourself to here. Psychology tells us that when this happens, it's often not because something is wrong with you. It's because something inside you has been quietly adapting for a very long time. The human mind is remarkably skilled at survival. When life becomes demanding emotionally, mentally, or socially, we don't always have space to process what's happening in real time. So the mind learns to conserve energy. It narrows focus. It prioritizes function over feeling. It asks, what needs to be done right now, rather than, how am I actually doing? At first, this adaptation can feel helpful. You become efficient, capable, reliable. You get through things. You handle responsibilities. You keep moving forward. But over time, the cost begins to appear. Emotions feel muted. Joy feels distant. Even rest doesn't feel fully restorative. Many people assume that feeling not like yourself must mean something is seriously wrong, depression, weakness, or personal decline. But often, it's something much subtler. It's the result of living in a constant state of quiet adjustment, adjusting to expectations, adjusting to pressures that never stop, adjusting to roles that gradually take up more space than your inner needs allow. In psychology, there's a concept called self-concept, the mental image you hold of who you are. This image isn't fixed. It changes based on experience, environment, and feedback from the world around you. When life changes faster than your self-concept can keep up, a gap forms, and that gap can feel like emptiness, confusion, or disconnection. You may notice that things that once excited you no longer land in the same way. Conversations feel polite but shallow. You enjoy moments, but they don't linger. You rest, but something still feels unresolved. It's as if part of you has stepped back, unsure where it fits now. This doesn't mean you've lost yourself. It often means that parts of you have been quiet for a while. This quieting tends to happen when you've been strong for too long. Strength, when it's never acknowledged or released, can slowly turn into emotional distance. When you're always the one holding things together, there's rarely room to ask yourself how you're actually doing. Your inner voice gets replaced by schedules, responsibilities, and expectations that don't leave space for reflection. The mind, trying to protect you, simplifies things. It shifts into maintenance mode. Feel less, expect less, react less. This keeps you functioning, but it dulls your sense of identity, not because you're broken, but because your system is tired. And here's something often overlooked. Not feeling like yourself doesn't mean you need to find who you used to be. You are not missing. You are not damaged. You are evolving. Psychology shows us that identity isn't something we return to. It's something we continuously rebuild. The discomfort you feel now is often a signal that your inner world is asking to be updated. The version of you that existed before may no longer fit the life you're living now. That realization can feel unsettling, especially in cultures that value certainty and forward momentum. There's often an unspoken pressure to have things figured out, to be confident in who you are, to move through life with clarity. So when you feel internally undefined, it can feel like you're falling behind. But uncertainty isn't failure, it's transition. When you don't feel like yourself, it's often because your mind is pausing, recalibrating, asking quieter, deeper questions. What matters to me now? What do I need that I've been ignoring? What parts of me want space again? The answers don't arrive suddenly. They don't come in dramatic breakthroughs. They arrive slowly, through small moments of honesty, through noticing what drains you, and what brings even a slight sense of ease, through allowing yourself to feel without immediately labeling, fixing, or dismissing the emotion. A powerful life lesson hidden in this experience is that you don't need to overhaul your entire life to reconnect with yourself. You don't need a new identity or a dramatic reinvention. Often, what brings you back is permission. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to change without explaining yourself. Permission to admit that something inside you needs attention. When you stop judging the feeling and start listening to it, the numbness softens. You begin to notice subtle emotions again. Not always happiness, sometimes sadness, sometimes longing, but presence. And presence is where identity slowly begins to reform. You may not feel like your old self, and that's okay. The version of you that's emerging now carries wisdom the old one didn't have. It understands boundaries more deeply, yet knows the cost of silence. It recognizes that being functional is not the same as being fulfilled, and slowly, without forcing anything, you start to feel more aligned. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're finally including yourself in your own life again. So if you're in that quiet space, right now, pausing for a moment while holding your coffee, looking out the window, or scrolling through old memories, take a breath. This feeling isn't a flaw. It isn't something to rush away from. It's a gentle turning point. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are listening. And sometimes, that quiet act of listening is exactly where healing begins.